Hey there. I get a lot of questions about how the levels are organized and whether the program levels in the Woodshed coincide with the grades that a lot of other programs like the Royal Conservatory of Music or Trinity, RCM or Trinity or that sort of thing, the grade levels that they put on pieces and how that coincides with the levels in the Woodshed. The goal of this video is to explain the way that I think about the levels and how to compare it to the grades. So whenever I was designing the Woodshed program, I looked at the syllabi of several different programs to look at how they judged different grade levels, metronome markings on scales, how they looked at a number of different things, and also how they looked at pieces. The problem with the graded things like RCM and Trinity then is that the goal is to get to a higher level piece of music. And so it's always just about playing harder music. What this doesn't take into account is how you play that music. And so it's very common. I've seen a lot of people who say, I am at level 6 in the RCM series. But when they play, it doesn't sound good. And so the question is then, so I want to get to level 7 and I want to play better, so how do I do it? But yet they think that they're at a level 6, and so then doing stuff at level 1 is beneath them. But what happened is that there are all these lessons that are so fundamental that they didn't learn because the goal was to play the next piece of music. So in some ways, those graded systems, they create note players instead of music players because the focus is always on what notes am I playing, how do I get to the notes. It's not on how do I play them beautifully, what's the motions I'm using in my hand, how do I connect the notes smoothly. There's a lot of things. There's benefits in playing hard music and challenging ourselves constantly. There's great benefit in that, and I'm such a fan. The real point, if we look at our musical lifetime, if we look at, okay, I want to play music that is beautiful, that I really enjoy playing, that connects emotionally with me and with people who hear it, right? So those are my goals. I want to enjoy it. I want to be challenged and have a meaningful pursuit in my daily practice. I want to be able to see improvement, and whenever I play, I want it to be beautiful and for people to like it. So those are some basic things. What happens with these, if we're just playing notes and just constantly playing the harder piece, is that, yes, we're challenged in our practice because we're constantly playing harder music, right? Solving different problems and everything. However, it may or may not be meaningful because we're just doing notes, so it's all technical. And then it usually does not connect emotionally for a listener. It usually sounds like, yes, you're playing a very hard piece. That sounds very difficult. Good for you for sticking with that. And so it just sounds like, oh, I can't believe you got all the notes. It's not, wow, I had a wonderful experience. It's like going to a movie and then talking about, and when you come out, all you can have to say is, wow, they really memorized all those lines. That photographer really he really shot it. Instead, we want to come out and say, I had a meaningful experience watching that movie. That movie was great. And yes, I recognize that it was, artistically done and well shot and everybody did their jobs well, but that's not the point. The point is my experience as a watcher, as a listener. And so that's what we get. We don't get that by accident, and we don't get that by playing notes. What we do is we get that by studying how to get that, how to do that. So in the Woodshed program, the levels are built around a couple of different things. They're built around, several different things, but they're built around a fundamental technique. So how are we moving our hands, and how can we train our hands to be able to operate very smoothly and consistently from the time we start till 100 years from now, because of science, when we're all still playing and we're just playing absolutely beautifully, that we're still doing the same movements in our hand. They're just even more powerful and graceful, and we can accelerate in our progress even faster because it's so consistent. So we're focusing on the foundations of technique. So it's not just like, yeah, just play the notes, your fingers will figure it out and you can fix whatever later. It's like, no, let's train these fundamental movements really well at the beginning. So that way, even if we're playing a level 2 piece, it sounds like a masterful playing of a level 2 piece. We can play a really simple tune and it be incredibly beautiful, if we know how, if we have beautiful tone, good timing, if we can do our phrasing and make this thing go loud and this thing go soft, and we know all about that. And that's one of the things that we're training in the Woodshed, is that you can then play beautifully at a lower level. So that instead of making the big point to play more advanced music, the point is to play music more advanced. So we're advancing ourselves, our notions of music, recognizing how to learn music, because a lot of people can play difficult music, but they don't know what it is they're playing. They don't recognize that they're playing a C chord. And so then they can't memorize it. So then they just have to sit there and just look at the music, and whenever they play, they're just glued to the music and they just play. But they can't memorize it, and they don't know it. Over time, what we can do is, as we can recognize how the music is put together, both in the harmony and the chords and everything else, as well as the right hand, and okay, so now we have this pattern leading to this pattern in our right hand, and then we do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. When we know that, then over time, then we can also know how things, whenever this happens, this is a nice way to handle it, right? So whenever this is happening in the melody, this is a really nice way to do it so that it turns out beautiful. Whenever I have this type of rhythm, then I can play it in this sort of way, and it will be more beautiful in this way. And it sounds formulaic, but it sort of is to a particular extent, but there is artistry involved in how much of something you do. Okay, if this happens, get louder. Well, then the question is, okay, how much louder? At what rate do I get louder? Is it linear, or do I just get a little bit, then a lot, right? So there's all these different nuances, and that's where the creativity comes in. And it's much more fun when it is effective. It's not just random. And the music doesn't come out schmaltzy, because oftentimes with expressive playing, when people are really focused on just getting the notes, and then they just say, okay, now at the end I'll put some stuff into it, well then oftentimes you get things that don't sound really natural, and it becomes a parody of beautiful music instead of actual beautiful music. So even if the piece is, is very difficult, it can still sound like a parody of itself if it's not really played beautifully, right? It just sounds like almost like a melodrama isn't real drama, right? It's like, that was meant to be this, and so I get that you meant for it to be that, but it wasn't that. It was just me saying, what if it was like that? So it turns into kind of schmaltzy, oftentimes parody-ish playing. There are 5 levels in the Woodshed program, each made up of 6 micro levels. So there are a total of 30. So the main technique work is handled within the first 2 levels. So levels 1 and 2, A through F. So those 12 levels contain the core of the right hand and left hand techniques. After that, then we start adding complexity. We start really looking at musical issues, more phrasing and playing beautifully, and more advanced ways of learning music, solving problems, memorizing, performing, and these sorts of things. And so we get our technique work in really early because we have to, right? Because it is the foundation. And then we start building on that and doing more and more complex things. So now I want to play this scale, but I want to get it louder, or a piece of music or whatever. I want it to get louder. But while I do, I want to maintain the good technique that I've been working on. And so it doesn't come at the expense of technique, because nothing ever does. Instead, we build that foundation first through the first couple of levels, and then we can start looking at harder and harder music. We can start looking at more and more musical ways of playing, phrasing ideas, expressive playing, and it's super fun at every level, because you can see such improvement at every level. So this is how the levels are organized. They're not coinciding exactly with the graded levels, but the grades for other programs did influence how I divided up and structured some of the speeds with which it goes through. So through the speeds of scales and stuff like that, then it does, over the 5 levels, get you to the same place as you would be by the top of the other levels, which is 16th notes at 120 beats per minute for scales is one of the benchmarks of, like, if you can play that, then you can pretty much play anything, and that's where we get to incrementally by 5F. It's a long ways away from 1A, but as we get there, then we can play our 2-octave scales. up at 120 beats per minute with free strokes I&M alternation. So that's where we're going. We do get there with the other ones. So I hope this has shed a little bit of light on my philosophies on how music and learning music can go. I hope you thoroughly enjoy working through the levels and know that it's all been planned out so that you're getting what you need when you need it, and you're on the most direct route that I can come up with to get you playing beautifully and having a good time with it. So enjoy your day. Thanks for watching. Bye.